Welcome to another episode of the Yes California Calexit Congress, where you determine the direction of the movement. With us today is CEO Jason Wright and our friend Daniel, and of course I am President Marcus Ruiz Evans. Take a look at this branding and we will be right back. Well, the third episode of the Calexit documentary is out. Let me show you a couple screen grabs from that so you can take a look. We are very pleased with how it went. So, just a second here. So, the documentary is called The Last Resort. Interval Presents. That's the name of the Warner Brothers production company that put this together. There's part 1, The Tipping Point, part 2, The Ballad of Marcus and Lewis, and now part 3, The Gold Rush, is out. So part 4 will be out next week. An episode drops every single week. You can see a little bit of the description about what it is there. It's the definitive story, actually getting the story correct about the history of Calexit, the things we did wrong and deserve criticism for, and the things we didn't actually do and didn't deserve criticism for. You can find it on Spotify. There's The Last Resort. It kind of has that picture, very nice retouched, digitally altered image of the original 1500 Spanish map showing California as an island. It's also available at Amazon. And then here's the Awfully Nice production company. They're obviously Idris Elba with his wife in the show Coupledom. We here at Yes California fully support the idea of Idris Elba as the first Black James Bond. Hoping for you, man. Anyways, there's The Last Resort. A little bit more about the episodes coming out. And then a couple other people talking about it. Did want to point this out. Here's Casey Michelle. They interviewed Casey Michelle for this documentary about Calexit. Great to be part of this new podcast looking at how Russia stoked California secession. Remember that. And they just dropped a great episode on the history of the American theft of indigenous lands in the state. I wanted to point out that Casey Michelle was the primary reporter who spread the propaganda that we were all Russian spies. A lot of what he suggested was disproven by 4 separate investigations. And when we at Yes California specifically reached out to Casey Michelle and said, hey, you suggested a lot of nasty stuff about us. Could you at least mention these 3 federal and 1 state investigation that subpoenaed bank accounts and all of which found absolutely nothing? And Casey Michelle refused to do that. He wouldn't really acknowledge it. He wouldn't really talk about it. He didn't do an update to his story. He just left the rumor mill out there. So it's interesting to see he's part of this documentary. And the documentary is about clearing up the story and getting it correct. When they interviewed Casey Michelle, and Casey Michelle is possibly one of the most pivotal actors in getting misinformation and garbage out there, and then also not clearing it up once the facts were actually developed. So just wanted to point that out. Now, in a total opposite to Casey Michelle, here's Zaiquato. I'm still working on his name. Let's take a listen to him. And he's advertising this newest episode. Uteska. His name is Uteska.
We just dropped episode 3 of The Last Resort. And this episode kind of dives into the history of California that I'd say most people don't really know. We also speak to Pat Vegas, who is from the legendary rock band Redbone, about how they basically hit the top of the charts by embracing their indigenous heritage. How does this all tie into Calexit? You're going to have to listen to find out. Check it out.
What was awesome was that Redbone is one of the most famous indigenous bands in America, and they were asked about the Yes California generated plan to return federal land to the indigenous, and the Redbone group endorsed the plan. That's never happened before. So Redbone is one of the most famous indigenous music groups, And in the course of this documentary, they learned about the Yes California plan for returning land to the indigenous as part of a plan for leaving America. And they publicly said they backed it. We never had the endorsement from them before. So this documentary got us even more endorsements from indigenous people about the plan Yes California and had developed for them. That was very interesting. But I also wanted to point this out. Now, they are doing a poll here at Awfully Nice, and I'm going to do a show on this one. But what I find interesting is this: should California secede from the United States? And then they give you three options. Yes, Calexit now. No, let's stay united. Or is this a Russian scam? Now, obviously, when you look at the two gray boxes and you look at the blue box, the big one taken away in bold is this a Russian scam? But it's really only 3 percentage points bigger than Yes, California. That's not that definitive. I also want to point out, no, let's stay united is about 20%, and yes, let's Calexit now is about 40%. So there's 2 times as many people in this survey saying go ahead and leave as are saying let's stay with America. Now, maybe people want to push the rumor mill that yes, California Calexit is a Russian scam, but look at how many of them are saying, yeah, but you could still go. Right? So they're not saying this is a Russian scam and let's stay united. So what I would expect to see is this is a Russian scam and let's stay united at like 60%, right? This is a Russian scam, let's all stay united. What this poll is telling me is that even if people think, yes, California is a Russian scam, which it's not because I invented it in 2012 with my book, which is covered in the documentary, they don't care. They're still fine with California leaving. I find this remarkable. Is it a Russian scam? I don't care. Go ahead and let them go. And 2 times as many people would rather let California go as keep America together. Think about that for a second. That is gigantic. I'm going to do a special show just on this one poll and what it shows. Even if it's a Russian scam, people don't care. And more 2 to 1 say, go ahead and leave. Think about that. Okay. So, Jason, any comments here?
Yeah, no comments really, Marcus. I'm pleasantly amazed, not surprised, amazed at this podcast and how it's turned out. I think Teska's done a very, very fair job. I do kind of wish that someone would have reached out to me, being the head of Calexit, but that being said, I'm still very pleased. They've got good production quality. They've definitely done their due diligence, been insanely thorough, which we are all about, right? Be as thorough as you can so that anytime anyone has any sort of question or tries to Russia, we can just shoot it down and say, well, obviously you didn't pay attention 2 minutes ago when we covered all of the facts on that. This group, these guys and gals putting this, what is it, the Last Resort podcast? The folks putting that together, definitely huge props and kudos from me. For the poll that you just showed, that's pretty interesting. 2 out of every 3 Americans want California gone from the United States of America.
You tell me how to interpret that. More people say, oh, it's a Russian scam, and they don't care. Tell me how. Am I getting this wrong? How would you interpret this?
No. And so I just wanted to point out that, like, so when it comes to, are you down with Calexit or not? We've got a decent chunk of people saying, yeah. More than 1/3 saying, let's get this done now, ASAP. Only 22% say, no, don't do it. and
That's
nearly
what this is.
40% are saying do it right freaking now. Like we probably should have done it, 4 or 5 years ago, which is when Calexit now, started really, really going big. But then the fact that people don't even care, they're like, hey, whether it's bought and paid for by Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, Kim Jong Un, I honestly couldn't care less. It says very clearly the thing that they are attached to isn't Russia, Russia, Russia. It's very clearly get California out from under the United States of America. Now, for many of us Californians, the stance is get California out from under the boot of the American federal government. But for a lot of Americans, the Americans, which, hey, that's their right? We all agree with that. We all have our right to choose for ourselves and think for ourselves. And those who abso-freaking-lutely love America and hate California, hey, that's your choice. That's your decision. That's your opinion. You get it. And we're not going to tell you that you can't. In fact, your hatred of California actually helps us. Surprise, surprise. The more that you hate on us, the more likely our people are to say, you know what, enough is enough, and just finally leave.
Yeah, that's it. And that's, I post up a couple comments here. Devil War says the United States has a broken system. And Daniel says, if Calexit was a Russian scam, who cares? We want to be independent. Anyways. So this is from Daniel. And this is from Devil War. And everybody's invited to join the show if you want. Just click the link. Jason, let me show you something, and then I'd like to get your opinion on that, if I may. So here's this poll. Yes, Calexit now 37%, about a third. No, let's stay united. Is this a Russian scam? And then I pulled up the original surveys taken a while back, 2017 by Stanford University and Reuters. Reuters showed 32% support and 15%.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had to change the location real quick.
Yeah. What do you think about the fact that we're looking at about the Reuters poll showed about 32% support in 2017? And then let me show you this too. The Stanford poll showed about 27%, about a third, too, in 2017. And then we go to this awfully nice poll, and it's 37%, which is, depending how you look at it, 10 percentage points higher than before. But also, it's 37, and a lot of polls have a margin of error of around 2 to 5%. If you look at the standard margin of error, 2 to 5% for 35, it gets real close back to the 32%. And I know that's some elaborate math, but basically you got 37.1% saying Calexit now. Margin of error is about 5% of any poll. If you took 5% off, that's 32%. 32% is exactly what the original poll showed. So am I just tripping, noticing that this 32% number seems to keep popping up? These polls came out in 2017. This poll came out in 2022. How come this poll in 2017 says 32%? How come this poll in 2022 is within the margin of error of 32%, 32%, 32%? Am I tripping? Something there?
No, you're not tripping. I would point out that So years ago, they ran that poll, came back at roughly 1/3 of Californians wanted to leave. Now, what I'm noticing is that if this fresh poll is looked at and we subtract based on margin of error, then our group has not grown nor faltered, right? It just
Right.
kind of is what it is, which is powerful. It says 1/3 of California voters are so hardcore about Calexiting now that they have not changed their opinions in all of these years. So that tells us, from a political analysis perspective, that tells us that the base number, the bare minimum, the starting point for popularity of Calexit is 1/3 of California, 1/3 of the fourth largest economy in the freaking world, 1/3 of the most populous state in the United States of America. You get where this is going, folks?
Yeah.
Under the United Nations Entrance Charter, it is clear that when they discuss self-determination and the fundamental human right to pursue self-determination, when they are talking about a people feeling separate or different from their overlord ruler people, right? Their standards are not quite so clear. It's not like, you have to have 100,000 people or more saying that they're their own people. It's nothing like that. It's much more abstract, which gives the room for pretty much, if you can get a significant portion, a large enough chunk of the pie that people go, whoa, that is a part of the pie. It's not just a tiny little wedge. That is a part of the pie. Well, then you have the right to self-determination. Now, we're starting 1/3. And that's if we subtract based on margin of error. Now, if we add based on margin of error, 37 plus 5, right? 42%. What's the answer to life, the universe, and everything? Anyone a fan of Hitchhiker's Guide?
Oh, the
42.
number 4? 30,
42.
42.
42 is the answer to everything. But if we add based on margin of error, under the assumption that they have undercut, right, then we would actually be at 42%, which is roughly 10%-ish more than what we had before. So in a few years, grown 10%. Now, I'm kind of in favor, the way I like to do statistics and the analysis of polls and such like this, is I like to, say, okay, they've got a 5% margin of error. So we will always cut that in half. And we will add 2.5 and subtract 2.5. And those two numbers, right? So, wow, dude, you're cool. Sorry. Someone had to just, burn rubber right up next to me there. So if we have 37, we subtract the 2.5. We've got 34.5%. 37 plus 2.5 is 39.5%. So anywhere from 34.5 to 39.5. That's our actual 5%, that we're really in. Could it be a little more? Yeah. Could it be a little less? Yeah. But all in all, that is how we get our most accurate kind of general location, if you will. So when we're looking back at the old numbers, right, we'll stick with this 5% statistical margin of error. Well, if it was 32% and there's a 5% margin of error, then that would mean that what we had if we were undercut would be 37%. So that goes back to we have either not grown, but also not hemorrhaged, right? We've not shrunk. It's either that or we have grown a little bit. Not an insane amount, but somewhere between 5 and 10%. That's considerable growth. It's not end game numbers for sure. You know, I will be honest about that. I really do want Calexit to have happened like 8 years ago. But I will be, you know, brutally honest and say, yeah, we're still not there yet. I want us to be there. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not going to, you know, lie or fudge the numbers. None of us are, right? We're not going to try to mislead people into thinking it's bigger than it is. It's big. It's big enough it could happen. It's, I think, big enough that it should happen. But ultimately, the thing to focus on is that we have not gone anywhere. We have not rolled over and, you know, let Uncle Sam walk all over us. We have not sold out to Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un, not Boris Johnson because he's out now, the new guy. You know, we haven't sold out to Trump. We haven't sold out to Biden. We haven't sold out to the Clintons, the Pelosi's, the Newsoms. None of them. Because ultimately, we are beholden to you, California, to ourselves as Californians ourselves, and also to all of you who are our brothers and sisters. That's what we're concerned about. That's who we're beholden to. So that's why we will never fudge the numbers or blatantly mislead people. Sometimes things get confusing, especially when talking statistics and politics and votes and legislation. Yeah, right. We're all still human. As much as, you know, Rachel Maddow might like to say that we're like, you know, robots made by Vladimir Putin in his secret little, you know, compound or whatever. The truth is that we are not. We are human. We are Californian. And, you know, no one's perfect. Sometimes we make mistakes. And I'm a firm believer in it's how you handle a mistake. Every mistake is a learning opportunity. It is a chance to learn and grow so that one can do better in the future. And so if we make a mistake, what we try to do is to be honest about that and correct it and teach ourselves, one, how to not make that mistake in the future, two, the best ways to deal with any sort of mistake like this should it ever arise again. This is called socio-political responsibility. We feel responsible for our fellow Californians, because we are of the capacity to understand all of this stuff, dissect it, look at it, like really incorporate it very clearly into our brains. And it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of time and energy, and not everyone has that. Not everyone, some people are great with numbers, but still not that good with statistics, right? There are finite little points here, and we just we do what we do to try to help make things clear to everyone. We are you, you are us. We are all one. At the risk of sounding a bit cliche, and, I'm going to go ahead and say something that I usually would not ever say. It is us versus them. It is California versus America. If we want to prosper, if we do not want our children to, I don't know, grow up just to go out and, live in a homeless encampment under a freeway somewhere, fresh out of high school, if we don't want crap like that, then we need to get on this. We need to come together. We need to make this happen. Because America is, and I've been saying this for some years, America is going down. America has failed. America has failed its people. Yada, yada, yada. I can continually repeat this day in and day out because it never changes. It's not got better. It's only got worse. Remember how I was saying, we haven't really shrunk. We haven't really gone anywhere, which is good news. Well, America is shrinking. America has gone somewhere, and that somewhere is to hell in a handbasket. America's failed. And all they're doing, all of those elected officials, right? I mean, look at a lot of us saw Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her rise into politics, and we were like, wow, someone kind of our age, and she seems to think a lot like us, and she acts similarly to us. This might be someone who is actually representative of me. And now it's coming out that, she raised $1 million or millions of dollars or something, just like every corporate Demopublican and Republicrat, right? Raise millions of dollars so that you'll vote me back in and keep me in power so that I can then go and trash on my own constituents. America.
Awesome.
Well, and, there are Californians that I don't agree with, right? I'm from a very, very hardcore right-wing, super conservative spot of California. That's where I'm originally from. Yeah. It's also why I don't live there anymore. But it's not because I hate conservatives. It's because, I'm a green, been green since 18. And whether it's Demopublicans or Republicrats, wherever I go, I just kind of don't fit, because both of them call me crazy, and they say that I waste my vote by voting green, right? When you're that far outweighed, it kind of makes more sense to go somewhere where your voice will actually carry some weight. We've got 49% green over in this county. A few more voices might help it, meet that threshold and become the majority for the county now. Or there is one person who is a green and 99.9% of everyone else is red or blue. Well, that one green vote literally does nothing. Like, sure, you can cast the vote and you are not going to see any result whatsoever for your entire life as long as you stay in that. So I'm bringing this all up to say I've seen a lot of this talk about let's kick Americans out of California. And I just got to say, I'm not down with that. I am down with the freedom of choice. And if Californians choose independence from America, and then Americans in California decide that they feel American and not Californian, and they choose to leave California, that's their choice. I am not going to stop them, but I'm also not going to stand there and throw things at them and tell them good riddance, I hope you die. Because that's not really in line with California values, right? We try to be sane. We try to be reasonable. We try to be decent folks here. We try to lead by example. Rather than pull a Biden and say, oh yeah, this border wall is so racist, I'm going to pull it down. We're going to put an end to this whole Trump racist border wall if you put me in power. And then he gets in power. Oh, no. Everything's totally fine down there at the border. We're actually going to finish building this wall now. Rather than be a Biden, we prefer a different approach, a much more human approach. One that says, there are things that I have to consider before just looking at what I want and need. And those things to consider are the 40 million other Californians. I am but one. Marcus is one. Together we are two. Strong, passionate, smart Californians. Yeah. But ultimately we're just two. In a land of 40 million. Now remember, 40 million, like 21 million registered voters or so. And we routinely have 1/3 of that saying, yes, we are first and foremost Californians. We do not agree with all of this American federal BS that goes on and what they do to us. And we want out now. Well, you know what, folks? If that's your stance, you can know I am right there with you. I have been right there with you for several years. The entire time that I have been part of Calexit, which some of you may have heard Marcus go over some of the stuff before, but you know, before
2015.
Yeah, before Donald Trump, I was in Calexit.
He was there. It was before Trump. I was there. I saw it.
And I did also accurately call it that Trump would win over Hillary. And, you know, sometimes I hate being right. But much like Americans hating on Californians is actually good for us, so was Trump. Horrible human being, or, you know, whatever your opinion is, but ultimately, him becoming the president of the United States of America was one of the best things for California independence.
That's true.
If anyone wants to lie and say that we're supported or endorsed or propped up or made by some sort of politician or world leader, you might as well pick Trump. He single-handedly did the most for us by getting into the White House. Him sitting his I'll be careful with how I describe him here. Him sitting his overpriced suited booty into that executive's chair, drove Californian passion for independence, self-determination, a collective will to just be and do better. Him being there did more for us and drove us in these ways more than anyone else has ever. If you know your California history, there was a small push for independence from America not that long after America came and annexed California illegally. That independence movement obviously did not succeed, but literally, the will for California to be free from America is as old as California being part of America. Since it started, Californians have wanted to end it. Since it began, Californians have wanted it to stop. So
And that's
now,
what we're talking about. The numbers, right
Yeah.
there, put it all together. It matches. That's the two polls, 2017 and 2022, October 24th, 2022, January 20-something, 2017, 32% for both of them. Sorry, back to Jason.
well, yeah, no, and I was just going to finish it up by saying, so now what we see is not just the California spirit kind of coming out into the light and, starting a movement. It's so much more than that. That was back when America first annexed California. That's what that movement was. What we've got now is enough of California saying we are our own people that we could actually petition the United Nations to acknowledge, to recognize that we really are our own people. I mean, that's huge, folks. Some of you will know we've got the initiative process and the independence plebiscite. We've got the petition, the Congress method. But all in all, ultimately, the be-all, end-all legally is the UN Entrance Charter. Unless the United States of America doesn't want to be part of the UN anymore. I mean, Biden, hey, you don't want to let go of California? All you have to do is throw in the towel with the United Nations and stop being the world police. You have to give up the world police badge. You can't go around saying you're the world's police anymore. You can't go and sell, your weapons of war to everyone and push them into having to partake in war. You just gotta, let it all go. But hey, then you could keep California.
Yeah. So I'm just really pleased that another survey backs up something we observed even before the Reuters survey came out. The Reuters survey came out after Trump got elected, along with the Stanford one. They both showed about 32%. But even before then, around 2015, 2016, before we had heard of Trump, we had anecdotal evidence of whenever we had a Yes California or even Sovereign California tent, 1 in 3 would always back Calexit. I mean, that was a famous story. We'd have 3 people come out. One would love it. One would hate it and not want to approach the table. And then one would be between the friend who was at the table loving it and the other friend who was like, oh, gross, let's walk away, going, I don't know. And it was a solid third. That was anecdotal evidence. I talked to other members. They said the same thing. That was 2015, 2016. Then we had actual survey results in 2017, and they backed up the 1/3. Now here we are 5 years later, and we're back at 1/3. So I understand anecdotal evidence 2015, 2016. I understand survey population is 62, 72, not about 800 to 1500 is not statistically significant, but repeated observation does make scientific declaration, meaning that we saw a third before the Reuters Ipsos poll. It's 5 years later, we see a third again. And at the Reuters Ipsos poll, we saw a third. So there's a lot of hard evidence showing there is a solid, unbreakable, unmutable, won't change, hardcore, concretized bastion of 32% of Californians that are always going to back this idea, no matter what. And it's only going to grow from there. That's what I'm seeing with all these numbers. If we look at the numbers from 2015, we look at the numbers from 2017, and we look at the numbers from 2022. It always comes out 1/3. So I'm looking at 2015 tabling, Reuters survey in 2017 and awfully nice survey in 2022, all equal 32. Anecdotal evidence, but it is there. Why was it 1/3 before Trump? Why was it 1/3 during Trump? And why is it now 1/3 in this other poll? Random chance coincidence? Or in fact, there is an unbreakable 32% of the world's fifth largest economy, a population of 14 million people, 40 million people, roughly equaling 15 million Californians who love this idea still. I am all out of awesome stuff to talk about for right now. Jason, what other things do we need to cover?
Yeah, that it's perfect timing, really, because I'm gonna have to go in a second too.
Okay. Anything you want to say?
I just want to say, folks, if you really want California to do better and to be better, to do better by her people and to be better for her people, both current and future, we need you to get involved. Not with, these groups that work against it while saying that they're Calexit, this and that, yet then the only thing that they do is, post slander and try to spread the Russia stuff, which is disproven. It's disproven by the federal government. Okay, folks? Like, if you hear someone start talking about Russia and Calexit, just know they're full of shit. Pardon my French, but they're full of it. They're lying, not fibbing, not stretching the truth, not telling a half-truth. They are bold-faced lying to you. And when people will lie to you, to your face like that, it means that they have zero respect for you. They think that you are dumb, so dumb that you will believe the absolute horse crap that is coming from their mouth. So, folks, there is a group that has been committed to this for nearly a decade. It was started up by the guy who literally wrote the freaking book on this. Literally wrote the book. Yep. Yes, you, Marcus. It's not that we don't know what we're talking about. It's not that we're not 100% committed and passionate about this. It's just that there are still people who are believing the horse crap as it spews forth. And what we need, if we are going to do better and be better as California, as Californians, the first thing that we need to do is tune those people out. Every time these Russia-phobia fearmongers start coming up, like, I'm not that keen on Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un, Joseph Biden, Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi, Gavin Newsom. I'm not keen on any of those ooks. Yes, I just bit my lip to censor myself so that I did not call them a very bad word, because that's how I feel about all of those, air quotes here, people. I don't think that they behave like human beings really, are supposed to behave towards one another. So I don't really see them as human beings. They're just monsters. They're terrible people. It's like, the difference between evil and just being a bad person. Well, evil is the genocidal maniac dictator that, Adolf Hitler, World War II, right? But what we have for the most part in today's world, as far as world leaders, it's just bad people. Dumb, bad, wicked-hearted people. They're not evil. They're just the wrong people to have in any sort of position of power. So, let's get this done. Let's tune out the people that we need to not listen to, the people who've been working against us this whole freaking time. Let's get together. Let's get involved. Let's get all our glorious gray matter coming together, coming up with solutions, making things happen. Because that's the other thing we're all about here at Calexit. Making things happen. We're not in it to just be able to say, yeah, we were the kings of the hill. We're in it to freaking win it. Not to come in second place. Not to have best in show. No. We are in it for the gold medal. We want first and only first. We will Calexit if we all come together. But if we continue to listen to these people who want us to believe their BS so that their best interests can be served, if we continue that, we will only continue to snowball downhill until the avalanche that is America goes and finally hits that giant dumpster fire that is the American economy. And well, lots of heat plus lots of ice creates a steam explosion. Big boom. Usually you don't want to be too close to things when they go boom. Definitely not wrapped up in snowball. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there and say, Viva todos Californios. Viva mi hermanos y hermanas. Sí se puede.
See that, Jill Biden? Not too hard to say it correct. The difference between him and you, he's California. So we'll leave it there. Watch for more shows coming up. Watch for more episodes of the documentary. Midterms are coming up shortly. Yes, California will be releasing a video where we project midterms will go to Republicans. And you know what that means because we've talked about it for the last year. We'll see you all soon. Jason, always awesome. And Rich, thank you, Rich. Rich says, gracias, hermano. That's from Rich. And Daniel says the word of Jason and claps. We'll leave it there. Oh, okay. How many episodes of the documentary? I think there's 7 total. 3 are out now, and I think 4 more are coming out. The documentary will have episodes out every week. I believe they're released on Monday or Tuesday. One just came out, and so the next one will be this upcoming Tuesday, and they'll be going through midterm elections, which is perfect because we think midterms will definitely reignite Calexit. That's our prediction. We're the only ones making it, and we'll find out soon. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to knock out some episodes. Stay tuned for some new episodes of National Divorce Talk Raw. We predict where we go over the data predicting midterms will go to Republicans. Americans are now beginning to starve and unable to take care of themselves, and we'll cover this poll that you just saw. All right, thank you all.